this is Algebra 1, Lesson 93. We're going to talk about products and quotients of rational expressions. We're starting on page 388. We're going to start by talking about the products of rational expressions. A rational expression sounds scary, but really it's just a fraction. So, we multiply fractions by multiplying across their numerators and then their denominators, right? So if we have 4x over 5 times 3xa over y, we multiply their numerators. So that would be 12x squared a over their denominators, which is 5y. And then we check to see if there's anything we can simplify. In this case, there is nothing, so this would be your answer. Okay? Sometimes we can do some simplifying and canceling before we multiply. So here we're going to be multiplying quadratic equations. So we're going to start by factoring the quadratic equations and then finding things we can cancel. The trick to these is to take your time and write out all the steps and write them neatly so you can see the things that cancel. Take your time, write out the problems. Okay? So let's start here. X squared minus 25 is this difference of two squares. So we can factor that into x minus 5 times x plus 5, right? And that is over x squared minus 7x. And there we can factor out an x. So we've got x times the quantity of x minus 7, right? Okay, times, let's look at this side. Here we have x squared plus 3x, so we can factor out an x again. We've got x squared, we're taking out an x, so we've got x plus 3, okay, all over. We've got x squared minus 2x minus 15. So let's see if we can factor that into two binomials. Okay, we're starting with x squared, so each of them will have an x. This is a negative, so we're going to have one positive and one negative. The sum of the factors of negative 15 are going to equal negative 2. So let's think about factors of negative 15. That would be negative 15 and 1, and 3 and 5. So if we have positive 5 and negative 3, then their sum will be 2. If we have negative 5 and positive 3, then their sum will be negative 2. So we're going to have negative 5 and positive 3. Okay. Now we can start canceling. We have an x minus 5 here and an x minus 5 here, so we can cancel those. We have an x here and an x here, so we can cancel those. We have an x plus 3 here and an x plus 3 here, so we can cancel those. So what's left is x plus 5 over x minus 7. And that would be your answer. Okay? Let's try another one. We have x squared plus x minus 6. So let's see if we can factor those into two binomials. This is an x squared, so these will both be x's. This is a negative, so we're going to have one positive and one negative. There's the factors of negative 6, the sum is going to be positive. So the factors of negative 6 are negative 6 and 1, negative 1 and 6, negative 2 and 3, or negative 3 and 2. So we need the sum to be a positive 1. So we'll have a positive 3 and a negative 2. Okay, let's try this one. Once again, nothing factors out of it as it is, so let's try making it into two binomials. We're going to have x and x. This is a negative, so we're going to have one positive and one negative. Their sum is going to be a negative 4. The factors of 21 are 21 and 1, or 7 and 3. So if we have a negative 7 and a positive 3, that will give us a negative 4. So negative 7, positive 3. Okay? Times. We're going to do the same thing over here. We have x and x. This is positive, but this is negative. That means both of these are going to be negatives, because negative times a negative equals a positive, but their sums are going to be negative, so they're both going to have to be negative instead of both being positive. So we need factors of 7 that add up to 8. So that's going to be a negative 7 and a negative 1. Okay? Now we have x squared minus x minus 2. So once again, we're going to have two binomials of x and x. This is a negative, so we're going to have one positive and one negative. We need factors of negative 2, so that's going to be negative 2 and positive 1, or negative 1 and positive 2. And we need this to be a negative, so it's going to be negative 2 and positive 1. Okay? Now we can start canceling. So we have an x plus 3 and an x plus 3. We have an x minus 2 and an x minus 2. We have an x minus 7 and an x minus 7. So that leaves us with x minus 1 over x plus 1. And that's our answer. Okay? Take your time. Write it neatly. And then you can start canceling. Okay, now let's talk about the quotients of rational expressions. And of course, that means division. So, we have, when we divide fractions, we multiply the reciprocal of the divisor, which is the second number, the number on the bottom. So, in this case, we have, this is a complex fraction. We've got a over b all over c over d. Another way to write this, which would be a over b divided by c over d, right? And when we divide like this, we change this to multiply and we invert this fraction, correct? So that would be a over b times d over c, which we can simplify as ad over bc. So, let's try that with these guys. We're going to do it, we're going to change this to multiplication and flip these before we start factoring anything. So, x squared minus 2x over x squared plus 2x minus 8 times, and we're going to put this one on top now, x squared plus 7x plus 12 all over x squared plus 5x. Now we can start factoring, and it's just like the previous problems. So, for x squared minus 2x, we can factor out an x, and we'll have x minus 2. Here we're going to have x squared plus 2x minus 8, so let's try to find two binomials. So we have x and x. This is a negative, so we'll have one positive and one negative. The factors of negative 8 are going to add to positive 2. So we've got 8 and 1, or 4 and 2. So if we have a positive 4 and a negative 2, then their sum will be positive 2. Times, okay, we have x squared plus 7x plus 12. There's nothing we can factor out of that. So we'll try factoring it into two binomials. X squared is going to leave us an x and an x. These are both positive, so these will both be positive. The factors of 12 are going to add to 7. So the factors of 12 are 12 and 1, 6 and 2, or 4 and 3. Here we go, 4 and 3. Okay? For x squared plus 5x, we can cancel out, we can factor out an x, and we'll have x plus 5 left. Okay, now we can start canceling. So we have an x here and an x here. We have an x minus 2 here and an x minus 2 here. Here's an x plus 4 and an x plus 4. So that leaves us with x plus 3 over x plus 5. And that's your answer. Okay, let's try another one. We have x squared minus 6 minus, x squared minus x minus 6 all over x squared minus 3x minus 10 divided by x squared plus 5x plus 4 all over x squared minus x minus 20. Okay, so to start with, we're going to rewrite this as a multiplication problem. So we'll have x squared minus x minus 6 all over x squared minus 3x minus 10 times, and now we're going to put this one on the top, x squared minus x minus 20 all over x squared plus 5x plus 4. Okay, now we can start factoring. We have x squared minus x minus 10. I'm going to try putting that into two binomials. We'll have x and x. This is a negative, so one will be positive and one will be negative. The factors are going to add to negative 1. So the factors of 6 are 6 and 1 and 3 and 2. So we're going to use 3 and 2, and we want negative 3 and positive 2, because negative 3 plus positive 2 is negative 1. Okay? Let's look at this one. We have x and x. These are both negatives, so this is going to be one positive and one negative. We need factors of negative 10 that are going to add to negative 3. So we have 10 and 1, 5 and 2. So if we have a negative 5 and a positive 2, then they will multiply together to get negative 10, but they will add together to get negative 3. Times, okay, we have x squared minus x minus 20. There's nothing to factor out of that. So we're just going to try factoring it into two binomials. So we have x and x. We have two negatives here, so this is going to be a positive and a negative. We need factors of 20, of negative 20. They're going to add together to negative 1. So the factors of 20 are 20 and 1, 10 and 2, and 5 and 4. So we've got negative 5 plus positive 4 equals negative 1. Okay, so now we have x squared plus 5x plus 4. So we're going to factor that into two binomials. So we have x and x. These are both positive, so these will both be positive. So we need factors of 4 that add up to 5. That will be 4 and 1. Okay, now we can start canceling. So we have x plus 2 and x plus 2. We have x minus 5 and x minus 5. We have x plus 4 and x plus 4. Oops. And that leaves us with x minus 3 over x plus 1. Okay? Take your time, write neatly, make sure if you're dividing that you change it to multiplication and you flip the fraction. And have fun canceling. And that's it for this lesson. Try your practice problems and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks!